What's going on, guys? Bengal again here, coming back at you with another video, and today doing another mock draft on the channel. Make sure you're subscribed so you do not miss any more of these in the future. Of course, it's free. You can always change your mind later, so go down, hit that subscribe button. Would mean the world to me as we approach. I guess we're on the path to 250K, so that's pretty unbelievable. All football, all the time here on the channel. But if you are interested in other content, my second channel is linked in the description, playing GeoGuessr, opening like IRL sports cards. So you can check those out if you're interested. But really, really interesting season so far in the NFL. Of course, as a Giants fan, it has been very tough. But it's nothing I didn't know was coming. Of course, I'm out here saying, oh man, the Giants are terrible. They're going to be really, really bad. And of course, I have idiot Giants fans in my ear being like, you're a hater. Why can't you ever support our team? And then it's like, you know why? Because it has, like, we've won 13 games in 4 years. It's been terrible. The Giants have the lowest amount of wins in the NFL over that time period. What do you want from me? All right. We're doing a mock draft today, though. And if the Jets are picking at number 1, they got to go Trevor Lawrence. He's the best player in the draft, probably overall, at the most important position. I get that Sam Darnold is not exactly terrible, and he has not been put in a position to succeed. But Trevor Lawrence is the complete QB prospect that Sam Darnold honestly wasn't and hasn't elevated his game to be. They got to go Trevor Lawrence. I know this doesn't solve everything. They still need to upgrade their offensive line quite a bit, even though Mekhi Becton has looked incredible when he hasn't been injured. They need a new coach. They need a new general manager. But Trevor Lawrence is a building block for any organization. He should be fantastic. With the Giants at number 2, again, my favorite team. This is a really, really tough pick. And as much as I want to say the Giants maybe wouldn't take an offensive tackle here, because they do have Andrew Thomas, who they spent a top 5 pick on, who has looked terrible, by the way. He's been the worst tackle taken in the first round by about a mile. I would have preferred Jedrick Wills at the time, like by a lot. Ended up with Andrew Thomas, and he's just looked so bad. Now, that's not necessarily the player that he's going to be for the future, but he has looked really bad. You know who hasn't, though, is Matt Parrott, the, drafted right tackle out of UConn, who has played some left tackle with Andrew Thomas being basically suspended by the team for a week. He looked great. He was such a dominant run blocker, not amazing pass blocker, but he offered the run block that the Giants haven't seen on their entire offensive line the entire season. He's been solid. So I don't think the Giants are forced to take a tackle at this spot, but with Penei Sewell on the board, I think they might just look to solidify the position. Because with Andrew Thomas potentially being a question mark, with Parrott being a potential question mark, maybe even someone that could move inside the guard, Sewell is a rock-solid tackle prospect. I really don't think the Giants would pass on that. As much as they need help on defense, even though the defense has played well on at least first and second down, if not third down. On third down, they've been terrible. On first and second down, they've been great. Maybe that comes down to the secondary, but a pass rush can help out a weak secondary, even though James Bradbury's been awesome. Jags at number 3. I think it's safe to say that Gardner Minshew's not the answer. He does have a really weird injury right now with ligament and I want to say bone damage as well, but it's definitely ligament damage in his thumb. I'm just not sure that he's the future of their quarterback position either way. So Justin Fields, in my opinion, is just too good of a player to pass on. So I have the Jags going him at number 3. At number 4, this is a tough pick. It really is, because the Dolphins have a number of holes to fill, even though they have played really well on the defense side of the ball. With Tua Tagovailoa now being the starting quarterback, they need to surround him with weapons. I think this has to be Jamar Chase, best receiver in the class probably. I'm a huge Jalen Waddle guy. I know he's out for the year, but Jamar Chase is just probably the best receiver in the draft. Dolphins really wouldn't look to pass on him, I wouldn't think. Even though the thought of waiting and pairing Tua Tagovailoa with Jalen Waddle, they were teammates at Alabama, that's super tempting to bring that Alabama connection back. However, we're going Jamar Chase. At number 5, we have the Falcons, who have been terrible this year. And I think it's probably time to look beyond Matt Ryan. And the clear option at this point would be Trey Lance. 3 quarterbacks going inside the top 5. And honestly, probably more quarterbacks going here in the first round. So stay tuned for that, I suppose. But the Falcons need to look beyond Matt Ryan because this team's kind of in a rebuild mode, and they're going to need a quarterback to build around that isn't getting paid $30+ million per year and isn't playing to his all-pro potential. So Matt Ryan, I think, has probably seen his best years behind him. Of course, he did win an MVP within the past 5 years, but a lot can change in that time period. So maybe the Falcons go Trey Lance. He has all the tools. See if they can develop him. At number 6, we got the Dallas Cowboys, who just really need help badly in the secondary. And I think the easy selection for me would be Patrick Surtain. The second, really good player, press man cornerback. Put him on an island and he'll be fine. Trevon Diggs had 2 interceptions on Sunday Night Football, but that doesn't mean that he's anything special. He's been getting cooked all season long, but he's a rookie. He could develop. He could become really, really good. Either way, they need help on their defense super, super badly. Patrick Surtain's my pick there for the Cowboys. For Washington football team, this is another really tough pick because they don't have a quarterback for the future. They seem like they don't want Dwayne Haskins at all. They need help on the offensive line super badly. They have no weapons at receiver. But what do? The top 3 presumed quarterbacks are all off the board. Do we reach down the board for Zach Wilson, who probably will end up being a first-round player based off the way he's played so far this year? He's been incredible. Or Kyle Trask, who's also looked awesome in a superior conference. I think BYU is independent this year and every year. But Kyle Trask in the SEC has been so good. I don't think this is a quarterback at this spot. I think the football team tries to go with a dynamic playmaker to change up their offense, and that is Jalen Waddle. He can stretch the field unlike many other players in this class. He is so quick, even more than fast, and he is so fast. So Jalen Waddle, he's even more than a deep threat, though. Can definitely go up and high point the football. Waddle's a great receiving prospect for sure. Could easily see him go top 10 even after an injury. Chargers at number 8. This is a weird one. They certainly have their quarterback of the future in Justin Herbert with how he's played so far this year. You cannot dispute that. They traded Desmond King as I record this today. So what position did they decide to go with? This could be offensive tackle. Sam Tevy really is not their left tackle of the future. Sam Cosmi, I think, would make a lot of sense here. Or even Christian Darrisaw. We'd have to look quite far down the board there, but Darrisaw has looked so great for Virginia Tech this year that he's certainly going to go a lot higher than projected via this draft board. So I wouldn't care about reaching down the board to get him at all when he's looked as fantastic as he has. Like, such a great athlete, such a great player so far this year. I think he'll be a first-round pick if he continues his level of play for sure. Could even go top 10. This could be a corner as well. You have the aging Casey Hayward. Desmond King's gone. Aging Chris Harris Jr. What else is there? Caleb Farley would make a lot of sense here. I think Shaun Wade would also make sense based on maybe looking to replace Desmond King in the nickel. So we could go that direction. And I think I might opt to do that. Their offense has looked pretty great with Herbert. It doesn't look like offensive line is as a glaring need as you thought because they are playing well. So we're going to address the defense side of the ball, and I think I'm going to go Caleb Farley. He's just a better player right now than Shaun Wade, who we really haven't seen play on the boundary. So Caleb Farley is going to be my pick inside the top 10. Patriots at number 9. Another interesting spot for me here. This could be a receiver. They need weapons badly. Their offense is stalled, but their defense has also not looked great at all. And I think if a player like Micah Parsons is still available at 9, I think the Patriots would jump at the opportunity to take him. A versatile player that they can use in a bunch of different ways. And when I watch the Patriots play, one of the biggest glaring holes that I notice is their linebacking core. Like, they do not defend the run well, especially on the edge. And a guy like Micah Parsons with sideline-to-sideline range and the ability to split gaps as quickly as he does and penetrate, it's really tough to find a player like that. And if he falls to number 9, I think the Patriots would jump at the opportunity to take him. As we get to the Vikings, it's been weird, man. The Vikings have looked great at times. They've looked terrible at times. I think they're middle of the pack team that was not exactly blessed with a great schedule. They really had some tough matchups to start this year, and they really didn't look that good. But then they just had a dominant performance in their last outing against a pretty good team. So the Vikings, I don't think, are as far away as you might think. And I've given them the same pick every time. I just don't think it changes. For me right now, it has to be Wyatt Davis every single time. They have their center of the future in Garrett Bradbury, but they need help on the interior of that offensive line. Really, either guard spot. They have a solid tackle in Brian O'Neill, but they need a sick offensive lineman with just a nasty, mean streak on the inside. I think Wyatt Davis fills that role really, really well. Bengals at number 11. Another tough spot for me here because Carlos Dunlap is no longer on the team. I don't really think they need help at wide receiver so much. I do like Tyler Boyd in the slot. He's awesome. I think they're going to look to develop T. Higgins. A.J. Green seems to be on his last legs. Still has great hands, but just can't separate the way that he used to be able to. I just don't think it's wide receiver. I think they go Gregory Rousseau here. For a while, I thought this would be offensive line, but if Rousseau falls to 11, he has one of the highest ceilings of any player in this class. Rousseau is a really, really good player. You talk about someone with great length at the position, and if he continues to improve overall as a pass rusher, he's a top 5 player in this class very easily. If he falls to 11, that is tremendous value. I don't think the Panthers need linebacker that badly here. I think they more so need help in the secondary. Jeremy Chinn's looked incredible, but he's someone who can play a hybrid linebacker role for you. So I'm really not sure that that's a position that needs to be addressed based on the players available. I could see Dylan Moses in a spot like this. Don't get me wrong, I totally could. But I think almost more so, this might be a cornerback. Could be Sean Wade. They could address their interior of their offensive line. Taylor Moton, I believe, is a free agent who plays tackle for them. It's a tough spot for the Panthers. Again, they've looked up and down as well. I think if they were picking higher, this might be a quarterback spot. Not sure that Teddy Bridgewater's the future in Carolina. What do we go with here for the Panthers? I think maybe we do go offensive line. And I'm feeling Christian Darrisaw out of VT. Really good player. Talked about him earlier. And with Moton's impending free agency in the next couple of years, if not this year, they need help at offensive line. So we're going to go with the tackle. Lions at number 13. Weird spot for them because you're looking at Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay probably not being on the team for very much longer due to free agency. They haven't extended Kenny Golladay. I don't think they're going to extend Marvin Jones Jr., and they need another receiving threat outside of those guys anyway. A'Shawn Robinson's no longer on the team. They do have Deshaun Hand. This could be interior defensive line, though. I don't think it's going to be quarterback. Dylan Moses would make a lot of sense as well. But I feel like they need a dynamic playmaker at receiver, and Devontae Smith could absolutely be that. So Lions get some help at receiver for the future. The Lions seem to be always in a tough pick in the draft. A lot of these teams I feel like are 1 or 2 positions away. And for the Lions, it feels like they're just treading water at all times. Like filling one hole just as another one appears. I'm not sure that wide receiver is their biggest need overall, but they do need it. And they need a lot still. Broncos at 14. This pick's pretty easy for me. I'm going to go Dylan Moses. They need help at linebacker very, very badly. I like Alexander / A.J. Johnson. I forget what he's going by now. But I think he's Alexander Johnson. I know he was A.J. Johnson at Tennessee. But Dylan Moses helps out significantly. No more Todd Davis. He was cut at the start of the season. They really just don't have much at linebacker. Dylan Moses helps them out. For the 49ers, this has to be help in the secondary, either safety or cornerback. The best player on the board right now is going to be Sean Wade. He's versatile. He offers a number of different things for the Niners. Checks off a lot of different boxes. If he can play in the nickel, we know he can play at a high level. Not sure exactly what he can do on the boundary just yet. Gonna have to see how this season unfolds for Ohio State as we get more Big Ten football. It's kind of just opened back up. Dolphins at 16. Another interesting pick here. The Dolphins have a lot of picks. They have a lot of grounds to get better. The Dolphins are a solid team. Their defense has played really well. Of course, we took Jamar Chase at number 4. They're picking 12 spots later. What position do they go with? I feel like their safety play has not been too bad. Brandon Jones out of Texas has looked pretty good for them. So this just might be best player available. Kyle Pitts would be really good value here, but they don't really need him with Mike Gesicki. Do we go Creed Humphrey? Almost feels like it might be a little bit early for him. But why not get your center of the future here at 16? Feels like a weird pick, but it's a good player. I think the two situations just might line up. He's someone who was very solid for Oklahoma, just hasn't really taken a huge step up this year the way a lot of people expected that he might. Still a very solid center. Not sure if he can move over and play guard. Depends what the Dolphins might want to do with him. But at 17, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. Their first pick in this draft. They had 2 first-round picks last year. They took cornerback in Damon Arnett, and they took receiver in Henry Ruggs III. The receivers have played fairly well this year. Ruggs has been decent. Nelson Aguilar especially has been solid. Brian Edwards has potential for the future. But what do the Raiders want to do here? There are some solid edge players available. This might be a good time for Kwity Paye. Could go Quincy Roche as well. I think Joseph Osai is a stud. I'm just not sure that he gets drafted in the first round, despite him being a stud. I think Azeez Olajari could get first-round hype. This might be a good spot for him. There are some decent edge rushers in this class. It's not exactly top-heavy. Like, there's no one real stud, in my opinion, outside of Gregory Rousseau. But it's a super, super depthy class. So, could be some great value throughout. I think a lot of guys could move around in here. It's just, what would the Raiders opt to go for? I think they do need help on the defense side of the ball so much. Cleveland Ferrell just hasn't been that guy for them, even though Max Crosby has been very, very good. This almost is an interior defensive line spot for me. And as high as I am on Marvin Wilson, he just has not looked great this year. I think probably the 2 best defensive linemen in this class right now are Jordan Davis and potentially Christian Barmore. Christian Barmore has a ton of potential. It's all about him getting more reps and being solid for the Crimson Tide. What do we do here for the Raiders? I think this is an IDL spot the more I talk about it. Let's go ahead. Let's go with Jordan Davis out of Georgia. He's a rock-solid interior defensive lineman, and I think the Raiders could use help at that position quite a bit. Get the Bears at number 18. Really tough spot for them. I'm telling you, it's going to be a quarterback. With Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence all off the board here, the Bears are in a tough spot. And I think this would be a classic spot for the Bears to go with a prototypical style QB in Kyle Trask. He's got the size, 6'5", 240. He's played pretty well this year. I'm not sure that he would be their QB of the future. It all depends about coaching and development. I like Zach Wilson probably more than Kyle Trask as a prospect. I don't think he's quite 6'3", but maybe he is. He looks a little bit shorter than that when he plays. However, I like Zach Wilson. I just feel like this, at least it feels to me more like a Kyle Trask spot based on the Bears' like history of quarterbacks. At 19, we have the Eagles. They need a linebacker very, very badly. Nate Gary is terrible. They need secondary. They need receiver. And I said they needed receiver in my last mock draft, and then Travis Fulgham started playing well, and someone said, they need receiver. Greg Ward? Shut up with Greg Ward Jr. I'm sorry, but he is not who you're looking for at receiver if you're looking to build a dominant receiving core. I get that Jalen Reagor has a lot of potential, and with the kind of rise of Travis Fulgham, maybe receiver seems to be less of a need now. But when I'm making a video a month ago and you're telling me Travis Fulgham now after he's broken out, don't tell me Greg Ward. I can swallow that like with Travis Fulgham, but don't tell me Greg Ward, please. They still need receiver. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is useless. He's never done anything. They still need corner. They still need safety. They still need linebacker. I think their linebackers are some of the worst in football. So to get like a true every down linebacker would be a great addition to this team. I think there are really a few options. I think Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I think Jabril Cox, and I think Cameron McGrone make the most sense to me. Chaz Surratt is a solid player. I'm not sure that he's someone that's going to go this high. I think he might be someone that goes top of the second round. But I think this has to be a reach spot for a linebacker. In my opinion, the Eagles got a player like Owusu Koramoah in the last draft. And why can I not remember his name right now? Outside linebacker, linebacker out of Colorado. Yeah, Davion Taylor. I don't know why I was blanking on his name. But I think Owusu Koramoah is a similar player. Okay, that's super embarrassing. Now that I see that they have also compared him to Davion Taylor. I don't think that's subliminal. I think that's very interesting. Would have been nice if I read his name right there so I could have gone along with it. But I do think he's a similar player. I think Owusu Koramoah is someone that's going to line up at will. And for that reason, I don't think he makes a ton of sense for the Eagles. I think they already have a player like him. I think they're looking more for a traditional Mike. And that would be Jabril Cox, who still can cover, one of the best cover linebackers in this class right now. I think Cameron McGrone is a great athlete that's maybe a bit more of a thumper, despite, improving in coverage. But I think Jabril Cox makes the most sense here for me, so I am going to give him to the Eagles at 19. The Browns are another team that needs a linebacker. They also could use a dominant edge rusher on the other side of Myles Garrett, who is so good. What do the Browns go with here? I think another great weapon at receiver could be big for the Browns. Obviously, that's been highlighted a little more now that Odell Beckham Jr. is out for the year. But when you look at the Browns, their biggest need has been linebacker this entire season for me. I think they have their Mike in Mack Wilson. I think Owusu Koramoah makes a ton of sense to play on that will side and be a great player on the weak side of formations. I think he's really, really solid and definitely has speed that the Browns are lacking at that position right now. Jags back up again at number 21. And this is definitely a tight end spot for me here. I'm going Kyle Pitts. They don't really have much at tight end. Kyle Pitts could certainly fill that role and be a really, really good player. He's dominated for Florida so far. It is so tough to match up with his size at 6'5", 240 and his athleticism. Not really a polished route runner, but his hands are very clearly developing this year. And I mean, he's been so good, so dominant. He could go even much higher than this, but I have the Jags snagging him at number 21. Colts at 22. I don't think this is a quarterback spot. I think they're going to stick things out with Rondale Moore. Why did I say Rondale Moore? I read it. With Jacob Eason for another year. This could be a Rondale Moore spot, honestly. With Michael Pittman Jr. being healthy, I think they're going to wait to see what they have with him. T.Y. Hilton's still a pretty good player. I believe Zach Pascal is actually a free agent this year. Not that they wouldn't maybe need another receiver outside of him. They need help on defense. There isn't really much on the edge. The value with Rondale Moore might just be too good to pass up here. And I am actually going to do that. Get someone that can really take the top off the defense and be a versatile player for that offense. So Colts take a receiver in Rondale Moore at 22. Bucks at 23. They've looked pretty good this year. You know who's especially looked good is one of their tackles, and Tristan Wirfs. He's been so solid at right tackle. You worry a little bit more about the left side. However, they do need help on the edge really badly. I like Shaq Barrett. What else do you have? JPP is a solid player, but you need more than two edge rushers in today's NFL to rotate guys in and out. Especially, it's not like JPP is the future of that position. So I think edge is a big need here. And I feel like Aiden Hutchinson, to me, just is more of an edge setter, and Kwity Paye has a little bit more potential. So Paye is going to be my pick here. Bucks get him at 23. Ravens at 24. Their offensive line is so bad. It's so bad. They have to go offensive line with this pick. They have to go offensive line. Trey Smith is going to be my pick here. Lamar Jackson has not looked great as a passer this year, but he has no help. The receivers really haven't done much to separate. The offensive coordinator, Greg Roman's been a little bit all over the place. I haven't really enjoyed his play calling this year so much, and I feel like they've just been so predictable. But their offensive line has been so bad. No time for Lamar Jackson. Trey Smith is a plug-and-play guard. Put him in immediately. He'll be fine. Packers at 25. Every year I want this to be a receiver, and every year it is not a receiver. It's not good. They've had some great play from rookies this year, specifically at linebacker, but they could still address the defense side of the ball. This would be a good spot for Eric Stokes, in my opinion. He's a really good player. J.C. Horns looked pretty good this year. I want to give them a receiver, but they just don't take them ever. So by that logic, we are going to go cornerback. I'm going to go Eric Stokes. Solid man-to-man cover guy. Also looks very good in zone coverage as well. I think Eric Stokes is probably the third best corner in this class, maybe the fourth, depending on how you consider Shaun Wade, either an inside or an outside guy. But as far as true boundary guys go, I like Eric Stokes quite a bit. I think he's even better than his cornerback tandem in Tyson Campbell. But Packers get a really good cornerback on the other side of Jair Alexander. Cardinals at 26. They've been so odd at cornerback this year because Patrick Peterson has not exactly played all that well. And then Byron Murphy kind of does a bunch of different things for them, and he's not really like a true boundary. They use him in a bunch of different ways. They've had exceptional play from Budda Baker. I think they could use more edge help other than Chandler Jones, to be fair. But I think with the potential development of Isaiah Simmons, I think you probably don't take a safety or a linebacker in the first round this year. I think you do go and try to help out the defense, though. I think this might be a corner, and it's all about which one is it. And I might just play the hot hand. J.C. Horns looks so good this year for South Carolina, so we're going to go ahead and send him to Arizona in the first round. Titans at 27. They've had no edge pressure. They're not going to have Jadeveon Clowney next year anyway. Vic Beasley's done nothing, so they need an edge rusher here. I think Azeez Ojulari is someone that's going to rise up quite a bit, and I think... Is he not even listed on here? No, that's so odd. So I'm looking for Brenton Cox here because I think he's a first-round caliber player on the edge. I was going to talk about Brenton Cox. Former Georgia Bulldog, transferred to Florida, and he's a really solid player. Only a redshirt sophomore, but he is draft eligible, and he's just not listed anywhere. He's an edge rusher. I just can't seem to find him. I don't even know if he's in their database here. He's not even in here. No, but Brenton Cox, I think, could be definitely a player that gets first-round hype. Talked a little bit about Azeez Ojulari. There are some other players in here we've had going in the first round before. Quincy Roche. I think Aiden Hutchinson, as a true edge setter, probably goes in the first round. I think Roche is a more dynamic player, and for that reason, I'm going to have him going to the Titans there. They need help on the edge. I like Harold Landry. I didn't talk about him much. I like Harold Landry quite a bit, but they need other things. They need more help, and Roche is that. Bills are going to corner. They need someone on the opposite side of Tre'Davious White. Levi Wallace is an up-and-down player, is a free agent. Teron Johnson is not an every-down corner on the boundary. They need help. They need to invest in actual really solid talent at corner, and I think Tyson Campbell can be that. A really solid player. As I mentioned, I do like Eric Stokes a little bit more than him, but Campbell's a solid player. I think Bills get a good one at 28. Saints at 29. They just traded for Quan Alexander. They're in such an odd situation for cap that they really can't afford all these players. So there's no telling, even though the Quan Alexander's under contract for the next few seasons in New Orleans, there's no telling if he's going to be on the team. They still need linebacker, but I'm not going to have them take linebacker in the first round. I'm almost considering quarterback. I think this would be a really, really good spot for Zach Wilson because they need something for the future that isn't Jameis Winston. But I think we're getting to the end of the line with Drew Brees. Their secondary is really awful as well. I think this probably could be safety or cornerback. I'd like to have a safety go in the first round. It's just what team's going to take him. I think the Jets might. I think the Steelers might at 32, as they're projected to win the Super Bowl right now, as they're the only undefeated team in football. But for me, for this pick for the Saints, it is quarter or cornerback. Those are the two options. Even tight end with Pat Freiermuth would make a lot of sense. But I'm going to go Zach Wilson. I'm going to say they get their QB of the future. Moving on from Drew Brees. Zach Wilson is going to be my pick there at 29. At number 30, we have the Chiefs. I love McCole Hardman. I love Tyreek Hill. Demarcus Robinson's okay. I don't think with Robinson you need to really look for other receiver options as your biggest need. Their interior of their offensive line isn't exactly great. I think the Chiefs, for as good as they are, do need a lot of help on the defensive side of the ball. Their offense is always going to be great under Patrick Mahomes, but they just haven't given him enough time this year. And he's looked great because he is great, but they haven't looked nearly as great as they needed to. I think Laurent Duvernay-Tardif not playing this year due to being a doctor and helping out with COVID, I think that he's been a huge loss for them. He really has been. And I think, I'm talking myself into going offensive line here, even though I know that he's coming back. Let's go Sam Cosmi. Let's take a tackle. Jets at 31. Had them taking a quarterback earlier in Trevor Lawrence. Let's get him some more protection. So we have Mekhi Becton. That's fine at left tackle. Let's go with someone that can probably play right tackle. And that would be Rashawn Slater, even though I might consider him to be more of a guard. Leatherwood's a really solid player, but he's been on the left side mainly. Ray Duns is a solid player. A lot of guys are solid. I mean, these are guys that are in first-round hype. Of course they are. But this is a tough one for me. I'm going offense for sure. Maybe we'll go receiver and get a weapon. Who do I like the most here? Justin Ross is always an interesting one because he looked so great before going down with injury a couple seasons ago now. Let's go Rashad Bateman. Let's play it safe. And the Steelers are going to round things out at 32. Big Ben hasn't looked amazing this year, but the Steelers have found ways to win. They lost Javon Hargrave to the Eagles. This could be an IDL spot. I do kind of want to give him a safety, though. To go with someone a bit more dynamic than what they have currently. Do we keep Paris Ford in Pittsburgh? I kind of like that storyline a lot. I feel like Steelers fans are going to be mad I'm giving them a safety. But if you go watch Paris Ford play, I don't think you could be too disappointed in that pick. He's a really, really good player. So keeping Paris Ford in Pittsburgh, he's a beast. Also, future me coming in here, I know there's going to be confusion with this Paris Ford pickup. But you got to look beyond Minkah Fitzpatrick. I know he's good. Terrell Edmonds, in my opinion, is not. That's why I'm going Paris Ford here, just to clear up that confusion. Because it's like, oh, you forgot about Minkah? I did not forget about Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's a really, really good player. They need more. That's my logic there. But that is going to be my mock draft here. I'm going to have mock drafts probably about once every week or 2 weeks. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And that will do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Almost lost my voice there. Take it easy.
I hit it at the park, bend bones. See me high step to the end zone. My life like a game, Nintendo. Playing with the best, let them know. Get off the track, the train's coming through. Yeah. Promise you get in my way, then you best believe I'ma just run over you. Yeah. Papa turn, taking it back to the house. Defensive joke, I'm laughing so loud. Speedbird's good.